Songs and Beats Daily. I am your host, Tony Fry. Today, we are doing it. It's episode 51. Enough time has passed. It's time to tackle the Kinks Preservation Act 2. That's right. It's a double album released May 8th, 1974, and it is widely panned as probably their worst album. Now, when we talk about the album as a whole, I might surprise some people with my thoughts on that. I think it's not a horrible album. There is some weak material on it. Maybe it didn't need to be a double disc, but it's not without its charm and its quality music. Today we're talking specifically, though, about Scrapheap City, which is a song that has a lead vocal by a female vocalist. It's not even a Kinks as the lead vocalist. And I have mixed feelings about this song. And in researching this episode, I have developed more mixed feelings about it. Because on the one hand, the song is if you haven't heard it, go listen to it. You can go to herohabit.com and under the podcast tab, we have a link to a Spotify playlist. It's got all the songs we cover. Scrapheap City should be at the top of that list because I haven't added next week's episodes yet. So if you're listening to this on Friday, December 20th, go listen to this song on that playlist. It's a country flavored pastiche, really. They do a lot of hokey, cliche country licks. So, they're doing that kind of Happy Trails groove. They're using some unconventional tones and instrumentation on it. And ultimately, I think it's a cool recording. I put it up there with Holiday Romance from Soap Opera, which we talked about, I don't know, a week or two ago. Because it is supposed to be campy. It is supposed to be tongue-in-cheek. And the arrangement is not a typical Kinks arrangement. It stands out as a very different arrangement in the overall catalog for the band. That said, as I'm researching this, on April 20th, 1973, there's a single, One of the Survivors. Okay? And that's an American-only single. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. Because this was a new revelation for me. The B-side of that is Scrapheap City. And I had always just assumed that it was the same Scrapheap City that appears on Preservation Act 2. And I had nothing really to dissuade that assumption because there's no bonus material released of any other version of this song. But in fact, the B-side to One of the Survivors is a Kinks version. That's a stupid way to say it because the Preservation's a Kinks version, but a Ray Davies lead vocal of this song. And the arrangement is completely different. Instead of going for a like mocking a country feel, it's a straight ahead like blues groove. It's a little bit slower, and it's got this weird intro, but the song is very cool with that slower blues groove and Ray's vocal on it. And so I tracked it down. You can find it on YouTube in very poor quality because it's never been released digitally. It's so you're watching or you're listening to a video of some old 45 or bootleg that somebody has put up. I think there's two videos. I think one of them is the Japanese version of it. But it's a really cool version that I'd never heard before. So again, this podcast is just leading me down some cool little paths. So if you have a version of this song with Ray singing vocals in better quality than the YouTube version, maybe you've dubbed it digitally from a a cleaner 45 or something, please send it my way. kinksandbeats@herohabit.com. I'd love to hear it. There's not a lot to talk about on this song, though. It is a straight ahead tune with, I mean, like I said, it's kind of got the cliche country stuff, but it also has cliche country chords. It's just a C7. Ain't no beauty, and there ain't no style. No, right? So it's a pretty standard. I don't think those are the right chords though. Sometimes, like, I like to go to kindakinks.net. If you have not gone to kindakinks.net, you should, because they've a lot. It's a great resource for everything Kinks. It's where I found the release date for this single and got me digging a little deeper. And I usually go there to get my Kinks chords. Sometimes I disagree with the chords, and on this one I do too. I should have researched it beforehand. But basically, just a standard country guitar chord progression. All major seventh or major chords with the seventh. So we can figure that out, and I'll send my correction in to Dave another day. So check this song out. This is going to be a short podcast because I don't really have anything to say to it. We can talk about the lyrics a little bit because there's some pretty okay lyrics. There ain't no beauty and there ain't no style. There's no quality and there's no purity. Honor's dead and buried because it's unnecessary. Look at all the people, why they all look the same. They're walking to the factory in their cloth capes and trilbies. I don't know what that is. I'm sure that's an English thing. You can write to me and tell me what that means. They've got no style, ain't it a pity? They're tearing old quality down without any pity. Now they're coming to take me away to Scrapheap City. In a lot of ways, it's the same kind of subject matter we were dealing with Muswell Hillbilly, where, you know, the city's moving forward. You know, today we would call it gentrification. The city's moving forward, and you've got these characters that don't want to move with it, you know. And tradition is a long-standing subject matter in Kinks music. And this is no different. There's some nice lines, but there's nothing remarkable about it. But it is a fun song. It is a highlight from Preservation Act 2, in my opinion. And it's, like I said, it's a very unique sounding recording for the band. And for that alone, it's a worthy listen. I don't usually seek out this song, but it is on my Kinks playlist of songs that I, don't mind listening to and that rarely skip. So swing by, listen to it. You can call me at 925-494-1739 with your thoughts on Scrapheap City. Or if I got something wrong with this timeline, this single is throwing me. And I texted before I recorded one of my Beatle expert friends, and he hasn't responded to me yet. But I imagine he'll have a little bit more insight into this single. But yeah, if you've got a version of it that you can share my way, I've come so close to actually breaking my no copyright infringement rule by posting it on this podcast. But I don't want people getting mad at me and sending me cease and desist letters and all that kind of stuff. But track down on YouTube the Ray Davies lead vocal of this song. I think it's a superior version, and I don't understand why it hasn't been released as bonus material on either of the preservations. It is a song from Act 1, so it's a natural fit for bonus material there. It's the B-side to a song from Act... I'm sorry. It's a song from Act 2, and it's the B-side of a song from Act 1. So either preservation album would make sense to have this as a bonus track. So it just makes me wonder what other things are floating around in the Kinks vaults that we haven't heard yet. I mean, obviously, if you were around at the time, you've heard this, or I'm sure it's on bootlegs, but this single did not sell a ton of copies. So this would be an obscure single to begin with, as it was an American single. So it's already obscure, and then it didn't sell well, and then, we're looking at it, 45 years later. So, I mean, this is a tough one to find. So if you've got one that you could send my way as an MP3 or something, I would love that. kinksandbeats@herohabit.com. Anyway, next Monday, we are back with a Beatles track. And then we've got some Christmas songs to talk about next week. So stay with me. And as always, subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it, and go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and leave me a star rating, 5 stars, please, despite today's episode not being particularly informative or useful. 5 stars and a glowing review would be fantastic. All right, I will talk to you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. This podcast is presented by the Hero Habit Podcast Network. Swing by HeroHabit.com today to comment on this episode and poke around our growing database of sports and pop culture news, reviews, and collectibles. HeroHabit.com. Collect your heroes.